It appeared at first to be nothing more than another faint traveler, a dim speck slipping silently into the solar system. Astronomers catalogued it as they always do, naming it 3I Atlas, another entry among countless distant bodies drifting through space. Yet the closer it came, the more the story unraveled. Its speed was wrong. Its glow was unnatural. And its movements, those tiny but undeniable shifts, suggested intent. By the time the James Webb Space Telescope locked its gaze upon it, the familiar rules of comets and asteroids no longer applied. What Webb revealed was not just unsettling. It was something that should not exist. 3I Atlas was never truly a comet. Not in structure, not in chemistry, and perhaps not in purpose. Early observations already carried warnings. Its hyperbolic orbit marked it as an interstellar intruder, much like Oumuamua or Borisov before it. But unlike them, it didn't simply cut across the system and vanish. It descended into the solar plane, the very thin sheet of space where all the planets orbit the Sun. That detail alone defied probability. Interstellar visitors should appear at random angles, their paths chaotic. Yet this one seemed to glide into the precise zone where Earth and its neighbors circle. It was like hurling a dart across the galaxy and hitting a bullseye on a moving target. Chance seemed insufficient. Alignment suggested aim. Then came the course corrections. 3I Atlas slowed, then accelerated. Its orientation shifted as though adjusting itself, as though scanning its environment. These subtle changes carried with them a whisper of unease. Natural objects do not behave this way. Comets vent gases. Asteroids tumble. But this object was too deliberate, its trajectory too careful. The thought lingered in the background of every analysis, this wasn't drifting. It was arriving. When Webb began its deep infrared scans, the expectation was simple. The object would outgas water vapor as it warmed, producing a tail of dust and ice. Instead, the telescope revealed something entirely alien. Its surrounding haze wasn't ice at all but fragments of metallic compounds, some reflective, some chemically structured in ways nature does not produce. The thermal readings were equally disturbing. Rather than emitting uneven heat as natural bodies do, it radiated a uniform signature, as if maintaining an internal system of regulation. And beneath the haze, Webb glimpsed geometry. Smooth planes. Right angles. Patterns repeating across its surface. It was not the chaotic lump of rock or ice astronomers had prepared for. It was structured. Designed. Even then, scientists resisted conclusions. Could it be a shattered fragment of some ancient megastructure? A derelict probe adrift for eons? Or was it a kind of object beyond our imagination, born of physics we do not yet understand? Before the questions could settle, the signal arrived. At first, it seemed like background noise. But soon, multiple observatories confirmed the same low-frequency pulse emanating from the object. It wasn't a pulsar, a quasar, or any known cosmic source. It was localized. And stranger still, the signal appeared to change depending on who was listening. Different ground stations detected variations, as if the transmission was adapting, probing, responding. AI models fed with the data began to recognize structure, syntax, logic, intentional modulation. It was learning from us. Then came the secrecy. NASA removed orbital entries. ESA issued vague assurances while carefully avoiding mention of Webb's findings. leaks suggested military interest. Documents hinted that the object had been tracked longer than publicly admitted, perhaps even before its official discovery. The deeper one looked, the clearer it became. What Webb found was no longer treated as science, but as a matter of security. And yet, the leaks continued. Among the most disturbing revelations was the biological resonance of the signal. Research groups found that its frequency partially overlapped with human brainwave ranges, alpha and theta rhythms tied to intuition, dreaming, and subconscious thought. Those exposed to the raw data reported shared visions, landscapes of light, impossible structures, recurring symbols. Was this communication, or something deeper? Was the signal planting impressions, reshaping thought on a scale we couldn't perceive? Not everyone remained passive. A private observatory attempted the unthinkable, they answered.
Another anomaly crept into the story of 3I, Atlas, this time from NASA's Deep Space Network. While tracking the interstellar object, engineers noticed something that didn't fit the rules of celestial mechanics. Its gravitational pull wasn't steady. It pulsed. Every 47 minutes, like the beat of a hidden heart, its mass signature would subtly shift, as if the object were flexing, or unfolding something inside itself that we couldn't see. Natural bodies don't do this. Rocks, comets, asteroids, gravity is constant. It doesn't fluctuate in measured rhythms unless something internal is deliberately moving. Some engineers whispered that it resembled artificial mass dampeners, the kind of exotic stabilizers that exist only in theoretical papers about warp drives. If that comparison is true, then 3I, Atlas isn't breaking the laws of physics. It's demonstrating physics we don't yet understand. But while most of the world was distracted by wars, markets, and endless digital noise, a quieter and more chilling pattern emerged. Amateur astronomers who had been tracking Atlas suddenly went silent. Online forums vanished without explanation. Renowned researchers at major universities resigned overnight, leaving projects unfinished. Even space agencies began to quietly shut down studies related to interstellar objects. To some, it looked like coincidence. To others, it smelled like a coordinated blackout. One astrophysicist left only a cryptic message scrawled on her whiteboard before she disappeared. Asterisk, it's not that we can't speak. It's that something else already is. And just like that, the story of 3I, Atlas began to fade from public view, not because it was solved, but because the signal had already done its job. It shifted something. Something we weren't meant to grasp. Not yet. Then, just as Atlas neared its closest pass to the Sun, a forgotten research station in Antarctica, Project Infera, detected a second object. This one was even stranger. It emitted no tail, no heat, no radio signature. It was invisible to nearly every instrument except the most sensitive gravitational sensors. And yet, it was there, mirroring Atlas's trajectory from the opposite side of the solar system, as if the two were locked in perfect resonance. Their paths were converging like the blades of a pair of scissors, closing around Earth. The discovery was classified before it could reach peer review. Officially, it was dismissed as a glitch. Unofficially, some whispered that it was always part of the plan. Because if Atlas isn't alone, then this is no longer a visit. It's a deployment. Then came a leak, one that was quickly scrubbed from the internet. A group of bioinformatics researchers tested what would happen if Atlas's waveform interacted with human DNA. The simulation produced terrifying results. Regulatory genes tied to memory, long-term planning, and higher cognition began to destabilize, not randomly, but selectively. It looked less like interference and more like programming, as though the signal was designed to dismantle intelligence, stripping civilization back down to instinct. One researcher called it a civilizational lobotomy. If true, then the signal wasn't here to talk to us. It was here to reset us. And within that signal, buried deep in its harmonics, linguists found a repeating symbol. When mapped into 4 dimensions, it formed a blueprint. The geometry mirrored human sacred architecture, golden spirals, fractals, ratios that have appeared in temples, monuments, and ancient art. But this wasn't the first time the symbol had appeared. It was carved into Mesopotamian tablets, etched into bone relics from 9,000 years ago, and faintly mirrored in the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro. Across civilizations, across extinctions, the same shape has emerged again and again. Whatever Atlas is, it isn't new. It's ancient. And it's been here before. Then came the human cost. Members of the Webb observation team began reporting something strange: temporal disorientation. Not lost time, but fractured memory. Some forgot tasks mid-action. Others swore the data had changed since they last saw it. A few insisted they had already witnessed the signal months earlier, despite no record of it. At first, doctors blamed exhaustion. But when the same effect appeared across independent labs and even in AI systems trained to monitor the signal, the truth became harder to ignore. The signal wasn't just transmitting information, it was rewriting perception itself, quietly erasing the memory of what we'd seen. Fragmenting reality. As it passed Jupiter's orbit, Earth itself began to shift. Subtle changes in the magnetosphere. Rhythmic tremors in tectonic plates. A measurable but slight adjustment to our planet's axial tilt, enough to throw off satellites, disrupt GPS, and confuse migratory animals. Gravitational wave detectors soon confirmed it. The frequency of Atlas's signal matched the pulse now echoing through the Earth.